The wind was cold that evening in downtown Denver. The kind of cold that creeps through your sleeves and settles against your bones. Mark tightened his grip on his daughter Sophie's small hand as they walked, trying to ignore the heaviness in his chest that had followed him for months. Life had been a series of quiet battles since his wife passed away the previous year, battles he fought silently, so Sophie wouldn't see him breaking. Each day felt like a long stretch of holding on, hoping he wouldn't fall apart. But that day, something happened. Something so small and unexpected at first glance. Yet, it would become the moment that changed everything. Because just as they turned the corner near a quiet outdoor cafe, Sophie suddenly tugged his hand and pointed with bright, excited eyes toward a woman standing alone beneath a beige awning. And in that instant, before Mark even understood why, the world seemed to pause around him. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that life can change in a single unexpected moment, please take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Mark didn't recognize the woman right away. All he saw was a warm coat, soft brown hair brushing her shoulders, and the sort of presence that made the street seem less cold. But Sophie was already smiling in a way she hadn't in a long time, tugging him forward with a confidence only children carry. Mark hesitated, unsure, but followed. When they drew closer, the woman turned and suddenly, memory hit him. Her name was Hannah, and she had once been a nurse at the children's clinic in Boulder, where Sophie used to go for her asthma treatments years before. Back then, when Mark was still learning how to be both mother and father, and everything felt overwhelming, Hannah had been the one who stayed late with them when Sophie had trouble breathing one winter night. She was the one who brought warm blankets, whispered reassurances, and treated them not like struggling strangers but like people who mattered. Life had drifted them apart after they moved to Denver, but Sophie remembered. Children always remember the ones who make them feel safe. As the three of them stood together on the quiet walkway, something gentle and familiar settled between them, like the feeling of coming in from the cold after too long in the dark. Mark wasn't used to talking much anymore. His world had narrowed to work, bills, grocery runs, and trying to be strong for a little girl who deserved a childhood free of worry. But Hannah asked how they'd been, and Sophie began talking with bright energy about school, about her missing tooth, about her dream of having a puppy. Hannah listened with a tenderness that softened the tension in Mark's shoulders. She laughed easily, like sunlight cutting through the clouds, and for the first time in months, Mark felt something in his chest loosen. As they talked, Mark noticed how Hannah's eyes held both warmth and a story of her own. She wasn't just catching up. She looked at him as though she could see the fatigue he tried to hide, the weight on his heart, the quiet loneliness he thought he had buried. And she didn't look away. In the weeks that followed, their paths crossed again, first by coincidence, then by intention. Coffee after school drop-offs. Short conversations that turned into longer ones. Hannah never intruded on the space Mark guarded so fiercely, but she filled the empty, quiet corners of his life with something he hadn't allowed himself to feel again. Hope. His biggest challenge had always been the same: facing each day without the partner he lost, carrying the guilt of feeling like he wasn't enough, and worrying constantly that Sophie was missing out on the kind of childhood she once had. He woke up early, worked late, cleaned, cooked, did homework with Sophie, and collapsed into bed exhausted every night. But Hannah didn't judge the worn-out edges of his life. She stepped into it gently, like someone placing a candle in a dark room. In afternoon, when Mark's car broke down on a busy freeway, Hannah left work early to pick up Sophie, fed her dinner, and stayed with her until Mark arrived. When he walked in exhausted, embarrassed, and apologizing, Hannah simply placed a hand on his arm and told him he didn't have to carry everything alone. No one had said that to him in a very long time. And still Mark was scared. Scared to feel happy again. Scared to let someone in. Scared he wasn't ready. But Sophie wasn't scared. She blossomed the more Hannah showed up. She laughed more, slept better, drew pictures of Daddy and Miss Hannah in crayon. The child who had once asked whether happiness ends when someone leaves began to believe in joy again. One chilly Sunday morning, the three of them visited a local park. The sun was soft behind thin clouds, and Sophie ran ahead with carefree delight. Mark watched her, his hands deep in his coat pockets, and quietly admitted that he didn't know how to move forward from grief. Hannah listened, then told him something that would stay with him forever. You don't move on by replacing what you lost. You move forward by allowing your heart to heal around it. For the first time, Mark let himself breathe. Weeks turned into months, and what began as a chance encounter grew into something steady, something real. Hannah didn't erase the pain of the past, but she brought color back into the parts of life Mark thought would stay gray forever. Sophie adored her. Mark trusted her. And slowly, with quiet courage, he let himself love again. Near the end of that winter, Mark realized something profound as they walked down the same street where Sophie had first pointed at Hannah. Life doesn't always give us grand miracles. Sometimes it gives us small moments, simple, ordinary, easy to miss moments that open the door to everything we thought we had lost. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more emotional stories that remind us of the beauty in everyday life. Special request. Comment below with Hope Lives Here if you believe that even one unexpected moment can change everything.